Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Monica Pinkett.
And I'm Andrea Rose Washington, and welcome to episode 10. So now, on episode 10 of this season 1, this episode gives us more questions than answers. Like, what happened to Paul? Where is the USS Discovery? What did L'Rell really do to Ash? And how are they going to get back to where they belong? Join us as we discuss all of these theories, because trust me, guys, we have theories. So moving on, before we start on anything, what was your initial reaction for this episode?
Oh my goodness. Connor's back and then gone again. And then Hugh, I'm so sad.
We're not, because Hugh did the trope. We're going to talk about Hugh. He did the trope. He did what you're never supposed to do. I don't know how I feel about this episode, to be honest. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I don't know, because it gave me more questions than answers. And I feel like we deserve more, but it's also a TV show, so they're never going to give us everything all at once.
Right.
So I'm on the fence. I don't know. A lot happened in this episode, but again, so many more questions were born by things that I thought we were getting answers for. And for every answer we got, it was like 10 more questions spawned. So I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in these whole like multiverse, multi-dimension kind of stuff where like anything goes and they can reinvent themselves. So,
yeah. And this is that episode of reinventing yourself. Good segue. Because the opening scene of this episode, we see that Saru was unable to figure out where they are, and nothing is technically where they're supposed to be. The US Discovery did go where they were supposed to go, but nothing is where it's supposed to be where they went. And then we see that the Discovery is about to be attacked by the Vulcans, which was weird because you think they're allies. They still think that they're allies. But then there was something I missed on the first time I watched this, and I didn't catch it till the second time I watched this episode. Saru's threat ganglia went off when Ash walked onto the bridge.
Right.
I didn't catch that the first time I saw it. I thought it was the Vulcans. And so I watched it again. I was like, oh no, Saru, what does your threat thingies know that we don't know? What did you think about the opening scene?
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm always intrigued by these opening scenes. And I'm also wondering, well, what happened to that Klingon ship that, which I guess was damaged and all of the remnants was out there and the Vulcans were still there. So I was confused, intrigued about what's going on. And Ash was, I think, late to the party. Ash, even though there was a yellow alert, Ash was late, the last one to the bridge. So he seems distracted.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like 100% what you want a security officer to be on top of the game. So I'm worried about Ash in this new place that they're at. And if he has if he's 100% has full attention on their next biggest obstacle, not L'Rell. And I think in the back of his head, he still has this post-PTSD.
Yeah. And then we also see that the Cooper comes to give Discovery some assistance, and everyone's sort of confused because the Cooper is supposed to be being refitted. So they're sort of shocked that it's here. And then when Ash finally loads upon the little ship to go get the data drive from the Klingon ship, the destroyed Klingon ship, we see him having another little meltdown. And what did you think brought that on? Besides the Klingon ship, I didn't really notice anything that specifically triggered him. Did you?
No, well, I guess it was the Klingon ship. And so maybe that's what triggered. Maybe what post to PTSD, anything could be a trigger. So I'm not exactly sure. He's just not stable. He's not the person I would send on an away mission, but no one really knows exactly what he's going through but him. Michael knows a little bit more, but yeah, he seemed to have a complete out of body experience during that away mission just to get the data from that Klingon ship so they could figure out more about where they're at, how they got there, what time zone, what time they're in, all of that great stuff.
And then one thing we see the beginning, or I guess a continuation of Burnham letting feelings override her logic, because we can see when she can hear that he's having a freak out, I think, but Lorca can't. And so we can see that she's letting feelings override her logic, which is very different for her. And now we're seeing that Lorca is starting to see that there's something wrong with Ash. And even though he knew, now that it's affecting Lorca, he's not like happy about it. Did you have any thoughts on that about Lorca, his act? I mean, I know how we feel about Lorca, but did you have any thoughts about how Lorca is sort of now is like, Ash, is something wrong? Like, what's happening?
Right. I think Lorca is recognizing that also that Michael seems a little distracted, that she's not her typical logical self. And we're seeing also in the actress that plays Michael, more expression on her face, like more mystery looks and like pondering and different things like that, which before, especially the first time we saw Michael on Discovery with Surik, she was very rigid.
Yes.
Very few emotions in the face and body language. Now she's like raising eyebrows and different things like that, which is because she's connected in love. So there, and I think, Lorca is connecting on that like there's a little bit more that's going on that he doesn't know, but that Michael needs to stay focused.
True, very true. And then
one more thing, which is interesting with that line that he said. I can't quote exactly what he said to her. I was thinking, that's undercut, because he had an affair with the ambassador, and he was telling Michael to kind of like stay focused on their mission, but really he was dipping and carrying on. So he just needed to be quiet. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're right, because no, you're fine. That's definitely the pot calling the kettle black. Like, come on now.
Right.
Come on. And then we also learn while Ash is out there that it's a Vulcan and an Andorian on the Klingon ship that's destroyed. And so that leads them to another host of questions of, why are these people working together and against, for what they know, the Federation? So whole nother host of questions. I had to look up what the Andorians were again. I couldn't remember, even though like I just watched them all the time on the other show, and I was like, wait, are those? Oh yeah, I know those people.
Me too. I wish there was a visual if they could give us a little bit more.
And then we see that Ash goes to visit L'Rell in the brig, and not to like toot my own horn, but I was right. She did something to that boy. She did something to that man, and it's almost like a mind control that she has. Like, she said a safe word. If I could speak Vulcan, I would say it. But she said something, it's a prayer, and it triggered him. What did you think about that scene? The whole scene of them in the brig, of the control that she has, almost the intimacy that he had with her while he was confronting her.
Right. And I don't know if I would say it was a Vulcan like safe word, but maybe there was a Klingon safe word.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, Klingon, not Vulcan. I apologize. Incorrect terminology.
But, yeah, and I was wondering too if Ash has like Stockholm syndrome, like if he's still connected to her and unable to let that go. It's just too early for him to be in this, and I was surprised that I think during that scene he removed the force field between.
She told him to.
Yes, and he did that, which I was like, oh no, he didn't.
Yeah.
And then they went in for like a hug kind of thing, and I think he like reached for her neck, or but I don't know. There's definitely some flashbacks, and at least he showed more power there. I'm a little confused about that relationship. I'm sure that there's going to be more we're going to see more. They're going to share more about how she controls him and has so much, the extent of the power. How, yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, so then moving on to part 2 of the episode, because I feel like this episode was broken down into like 4 different parts almost. We again see Burnham having more feelings than logic when it comes to Ash. When she confronts him in the cafeteria, we see that she knows there's something wrong with him, and she knows he needs to turn himself in, and he's able to talk her out of it. And episode 1 Burnham would not have gone with it. Episode 1 Burnham would have went straight to Lorca and turned him in.
Right.
And we're seeing more and more of her be human, I should say, instead of Vulcan. And then we see her go to engineering and see Tilly, and they open the data core, and they are able to sort of now trying to learn about what's going on in the universe that they're in. And they're being held by the Cooper once more. And the Cooper is about to fire on them. And then we find out this awesome thing about our little Tilly. This universe's Tilly is Captain Killy.
Captain Killy.
Captain Killy. She's the captain of the Discovery. And oh, I love her. I love her. I love her. What did you think about that whole about her finding out that she's the captain of Discovery?
Yeah,
all I wanted to say was, I'm the captain now.
Yeah. There was a little foreshadowing too. I don't know if it was an episode or 2 ago with Paul. Paul mentioned Captain Tilly, and maybe because he knows about what's going on in other alternate universes. But it's interesting how one of the least confident characters in the whole show that I can think of is now going to become the most powerful, potentially. We'll see how this all unfolds. But yeah, she's in the captain's chair like she wanted, like she was training for. So girls got to step up and act and be as confident, just play the role. And she does it well. She does it really good. So I'm impressed by her and her gutso. You can tell she's a little nervous at first about being in that role, that position. But she carries it off well. I'm going to just jump ahead. I really like her hairstyle.
Yeah. No, because we see it in that scene. He throws Saru throws it up onto the little screen for them to see that she is the captain, and she is rocking blonde red hairdo.
Yeah,
girl is swinging it.
Yeah, straight blunt cuts on the sides.
Yes.
And yes. And I love the gold and black contrast and the uniforms.
Yes. So in that scene, I had to remember that opening line that she said when she's half talking to Cooper. Hello, this is Captain Tilly. What the heck? Hell, what the hell? Hold your horses.
Yeah.
I must have listened to her say that line like 4 times because she was just like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
And then that whole scene lends them into this sort of like, mirage is not the right word. What's the word when like you have I can't think of the word, but basically not flashback, a flash forward, the little reel that I can't think of the word, people. When they show them basically changing over the USS Discovery into the ISS Discovery, because they find out that the world that they are living in is ruled by Terran people who hate everyone else. Which no one mentioned it, but Saru looks like he's the only non-human on that ship.
Oh.
When they brought that up, and I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but I caught it the second time I watched it. Saru is the only non-human that I've seen on that ship. Everyone else is human. I
think there's a robot. Like a gray and white robot.
I have to go back and look because I don't think I've seen anyone else who is, I'll say this, obviously non-human. Right. On the ship.
But then again, I don't remember seeing her in this episode. I'm saying the robot's like a her, but I don't know why. But I've seen the robot.
Montage. I'm so sorry. A montage.
That's a good point.
So like
That's
he
yeah.
cannot have any access to anyone, or he can't be seen if they're ever on the bridge and they showcase the video. Like he can't be there because he's non-human, and this war is against all non-humans, which is why it's the questions of why the Vulcans, the Andorians, and the Kling were on a Klingon ship, because they probably banded together to take out this new Federation. And they have different uniforms, different little badges. Right. Everything about them has changed. And I will say Saru runs a tight ship because he got that changed over real quick.
Yeah, the new uniforms, the change of the ship. And they had to research. Thank goodness Ash was able to bring back that data core to find out exactly what change they should make. I do want to mention to the listening audience, they're in an alternate universe in which the Discovery, the USS Discovery, and the ISS Discovery switch places, we think.
Yes, we think. Which is the question of what is the ISS Discovery doing?
Yes.
Yes.
And if they're the only ones that switched, right? I guess they are the only ones that switched, and the ramifications of that is crazy because I guess there's another Tilly in our timeline.
And apparently this Tilly is not afraid to get her hands dirty, because to become captain of the Discovery, she killed the previous captain in his bed. Just killed him while he was recovering from the flu. So this reminds me of almost that Vin Diesel movie, you keep what you kill. When they said that she killed the last captain, instead of being like court-martialed or thrown in the brig, she became the captain. So it just reminded me of that, because I would think you would maybe still arrest her, but instead she got rewarded, you know?
Right. The tough thing about moving in a storyline, moving to another universe like this, another and potential timeline, is that really you can reinvent the past and the future. So everything's off the table at this point.
Yeah.
There's so many unknowns, and it's actually a little hard to keep up. And thank goodness they have different uniforms to help keep it straight. Because I struggle sometimes with other storylines that go back and forth. I am worried about Paul and the spore drive being offline. He seems to be weak. He's recovering in an infirmary, and Hugh's worried about him. Mm-hmm. Captain Lorca just wants Paul to get back to business, and Paul seems to be angry and agitated and abrasive, but weak as well. So without Paul, they cannot hop and travel to get back to their normal dimension. So I'm worried about Paul, and Paul always has a special place in my heart anyway. So what do you think about Paul?
So with Paul, I can tell that he's not there. I can tell that mentally he's not there. While his eyes are clouded over, it's not him. It's almost like he's still in La La Land almost. So I'm worried that he won't get out of that. I'm worried that he won't get out of that he won't be able to recover. I like that Hugh stood up to Captain Lorca regarding Paul, because Lorca cares when it what's the word? Lorca cares when it affects him.
Oh yeah.
And so now that Paul is out of commission, he cares, and he tried to put a new doctor onto him, and he was like, "Nah, no, you had it your way. You're not gonna put a new doctor on here." Basically, Hugh knew that if Lorca put a different doctor on there, the doctor was just going to do whatever Lorca told him to do to get Paul ready.
Right.
and risk Paul's health. So I like that Hugh was like, no, he's under my care. No one's better at it than I am. Back off. And Lorca did, which is very interesting.
Right. And Hugh is Paul's next of kin, so he
Yeah.
should be involved in all of these decisions. And it was like a nice way of Star Trek, like nailing that home, about loved ones also being impact, not just the captain and the, I don't know, the Federation by these consequences.
But technically, because Lorca is his husband, that's Lorca, sorry, Hugh is his husband, he's technically not allowed to work on him unless the rules are different. So
right, so there's a conflict
like they're both
of
bending
interest.
the rules, but he's actually bending it for the right reasons, and Lorca's bending it for the wrong reasons.
Right. At this point, I mean, it's not like Lorca can go complain to the Federation. Like, Hugh has more bad, like, has more evidence against Lorca. So it's like, you better be quiet, otherwise I can spend some knowledge and take you down, sir. So, but I think, though, if I remember correctly in this scene, Paul mentioned to Hugh to watch out.
Yes.
That like there was danger behind him or around him. And so that's another reason why I was a little worried about Paul and Hugh and how this is all going to unfold and evolve. Because we know if Paul's foreshadowing this, it's going to come true, and it's going to be really bad.
He's already seen it, and he just doesn't know how to articulate it in a way that they can understand it.
Right. Now, while Paul was in the infirmary with Hugh, Ash stops by, and
that happens a little bit after they figure out what their next plan is.
Okay.
So we'll backtrack real quick. So Burnham finds out what her and Lorca's counterparts are, and she finds out that Lorca was still the captain of his old ship, and Burnham was the captain of the Shinzo. And Lorca tried to overthrow the Emperor, and he failed because Burnham was sent to stop him. And so you see for a moment, Lorca is sort of like worried. He's like, or not worried, but hopeful. He's like, is my crew, are they still alive? And finds out that they're not still alive, which leads them to the plan of boarding the Shinzo. And they need Ash for that. But Ash doesn't feel up to speed to do it, which is why he goes back to visit Hugh. And now we can go back to that part. Because it leads up, because after that part, we got to jump to the next part. So I just wanted to give them background, just in case they haven't watched the episode. Why Ash is back to visit Tyler, because he has to go on another mission to the Shinzo to get information about another USS ship that is in their universe somehow.
Right. So while Hugh and Ash are talking in the infirmary, like Ash asked for like a more detailed health scan to find out what's going on with it. Like, he knows something else is there, and Hugh finds out that there's like another layer. Like I guess he's a little bit short. Ash is a little bit shorter, and there's things that are underneath of his skin, and other connections that we're realizing the connection to Klingon. And I think this is where your foreshadowing came true.
What?
So who he's connected to and how in the Klingon community and culture is a whole other thing. But yeah, they were
there's physical modifications. Like basically they shaved his bone down to make him smaller, which I just don't see that as being anywhere near pleasant whatsoever.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that didn't come up in the first diagnosis. Yeah. First.
And then he also discovers that they say they always look for people to make sure they're not under Stockholm syndrome, that there's not like another personality implanted, that there's not all these other things to make sure that they're not getting back a double agent, a secret, a sleeper agent. And we find out that Hugh finds a different personality, another personality in Tyler. Right. And then Hugh does what you're never supposed to do. He did the trope that I hate. You confront someone with bad news, knowing they don't want bad news because Tyler is desperate to go on this mission with them. Tyler has to go on this mission with them. And he's not going to want to hear this. And you confront him by yourself. And what happened to Hugh?
I think he's dead.
He's dead, people. He's dead because Tyler, in the whatever Klingon mind, whatever personality, which I think is Volk. I think she put Volk in his head. I don't know how. I don't know how she would have done that, but I think she put him in there. Snapped his neck. Right next to Paul.
Right.
And I
was upset that Paul didn't jump to Hugh's rescue.
Maybe Paul's not there though. Paul's not there mentally.
But in my heart, I wanted Paul to save his husband.
Because we saw when Ash was in the room when you said that Hugh gives Paul a kiss and his eyes go back to him for a split second, and he says the enemy's here, and then they go back. It's Paul's not there, sadly, and I think that's going to, if Paul ever recovers from this, that is going to devastate him, that his husband was killed next to him and he wasn't able to do anything about it. I hope they find a way to save you, because I feel like it's space. So, they could find a way. It's the future. They should find a way to save him. But right. I don't think they are.
And then I was also thinking, I'm sure there's on new age cameras or whatever footage of this so that they know who killed Hugh. But then Ash is the chief of security, so he could possibly remove all evidence.
So here's the thing though, because it wasn't technically Ash who did it, it was, but it wasn't. Because the side that came out was the Klingon side that came out and killed him. It wasn't Ash. So I think he's not going to consciously know to hide the video. The Klingon side, whatever she did to him, whatever is inside of him, killed Hugh. I know that. It wasn't, Ash didn't consciously kill him. But I don't know if he's going to have the foreshadow to think of erasing the video.
Okay.
That's what I think. Because right after it happened, he said something in Klingon, didn't he? Or am I just missing?
Yes, he did.
So I think that was the survival of the other personality came to the top for a second. Sorry, people who saw me do the hand motion of I killed Hugh and then went away again. Or got Ash to leave the room and then went away again. And Ash is going to pay for it, though. He's going to pay for it.
Right. I was thinking this is a way in which, potentially Ash could be incarcerated as well.
Yep.
With Michael.
They're going to be the king and queen of that jail cell.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So then we see, in the last little action part of this episode, we see Michael, Lorca, and Ash reach out to the Shinzo, and they go there. And Burnham is playing her supposed missing in action captain self.
Oh,
and she's Captain Lorca, who's trying to
before they go there, let's talk about Tilly's or Michael's conversation with Connor, right? Right, so that they can encourage Connor to route there, and then Lorca doesn't know who Connor is, but he notices there's a connection there with the rest of the crew noticing Connor, and Connor was actually one of the first individuals to die,
I think he was the one who was in the brig where she was.
Yeah, he stopped by to visit her.
Sucked out. Yeah, he came to visit her. He was supposed to be going somewhere else, and he got sucked out. And you can see that's affecting her. Seeing him is affecting her.
Right, right. And he seems as though, yeah, because she died in our dimension, and then also I think she was the last to see him alive. They were all mourning his death, and then all of a sudden there he is on the screen as the most potentially powerful person on that ship. He moved up rank fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But then once he noticed that Michael was in charge, was kind of back, but Lorca had Lorca as a prisoner, he seemed to like show restraint. That was like a reality check for him that Michael's in charge, and that's because Michael is going to become the captain of the ship.
Yeah, so we see before the elevator ride, we see them. Lorca basically gives himself a broken nose and like a messed up face, and they are going to put him in the agonizer room, as it's so lovely called, because you can't just put people in the brig. You got to torture them in this universe, and it's literally a box that just makes you feel agonizing pain. And for all of those people who may be Harry Potter nerds like me, it reminded me of a scientific Cruciatus curse. It's just pain. Nothing's actually touching you. It's just pain. And we see that Burnham doesn't want to put Lorca in there. And Lorca tells her, like, let it go. No, like, play your role. I got to do this.
Does it show you, like, when you're in that box, does it show you like your deepest, darkest fears? Like, how does
that? I think it just causes agonizing pain. I think it just causes agonizing pain, because they were screaming, they were screaming in pain, not in fear.
Oh.
They were screaming like, just because there's a different type of scream. When you scream when you're in fear of something, you can sort of tell the difference of what type of scream it is. And that was a scream of pain. Like, they were in pain. And it's going to make him basically be in pain. Yeah, it just inflicts pain. Basically, as they like transfer them wherever they're going to go, because you can't just be in the brig. You got to be in pain. You got to be tortured, because these people are so lovey-dovey, and I'm so happy I don't live in the mirror universe. But then we see Connor is taking Michael up to the brig. Not the brig, sorry, the bridge. Too many words that sound the same. And we hear him say that, he has an issue with getting the crew to really follow him like they did her. And this is not our lovey Connor. This is not our Connor that we care about, because he tries to kill her and she is forced to take his life. And I think that is going to sit with her for a very long time.
Right. I think Michael said a little earlier in the episode that everything in this dimension is different because they have to be more aggressive to survive.
Yeah.
And they take a lot more risks, and it's different than the Federation's peace. It's completely opposite. And so so far we see everyone's out for themselves, and just like almost the opposite of the characters in our dimension.
I just know that she's not going to be okay that she killed him, because she already regretted his death once, because she was, in quotation marks, the cause of his death the first time, and now she's the cause of his death the second time.
But the crew of her killing him, because
they clapped.
Right, they applauded, gave her a standing ovation, if I remember correctly. As soon as she left the elevator and walked onto the bridge, and they showed Connor there in the back, dead, they were pleased. So it makes me think that also maybe Connor was just obviously they didn't support him as a captain.
No, they didn't. But I'm saying for her personally, to have to live with taking his life, even though he did try to take hers. I feel like that's going to weigh on her in a bit. Just even though she knows it was a kill or be killed situation, she basically killed him twice. Well, once, because that's still hill I would die on. The first one wasn't her fault. And then she gets into the captain chair, and
and this one was really self-defense, if I have to say.
But she still killed him. He's still dead.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's wrong for it. I'm just saying I feel like it's going to probably weigh on her because she still killed him, and he wears the face of her friend.
Right.
Not that guy was the good guy, but he wears the face of her friend, the one who did die. And now she's like, I feel like it's going to weigh on her because she's feeling more human than Vulcan now. And I feel like his death is going to weigh on her. Even though she was completely justified in everything that she did, I just think it's going to weigh on her. Even though it doesn't need to be.
Right. Well, she can't show it.
Yeah, nope, she can't.
Because long live Captain Burham.
Long live the Empire.
Long live the Empire. Woo!
Yeah.
What a big change.
Mm-hmm. The episode does sort of end on like a cute, soft note, which is also like a horrible note. We see Michael go back to her quarters, and Ash is there, and she's like, "How did you get in?" He's like, "It's the same code that you use in Discovery." So it shows that the two Michaels are similar in the sense they use the same code. And he basically hugs her and says that he will never let like literally anything, like he'll protect her from no matter what, like he's gonna protect her, even though he needs to protect her from himself. And then it ends with Lorca screams. So it's like they get a soft ending and Lorca's in pain.
Yeah.
It's a weird but soft but cute but horrible ending. What do you think of the ending?
Oh, I thought it was cute that like Ash creeps into her quarters. Like the ultimate creep. And he's waiting for her, and she had a long day, and she doesn't really want to talk about it, but they have an intimate moment together, and they're able to connect. He still needs to share a lot more information about what's going on, but I think he also stated that he will always protect her, and so it's a very sweet moment, a supportive moment. They're both going through their struggles in this.
Yeah, but his struggles will kill her though. So yeah, he needs to work that out quickly. So I thought this episode was going to resolve itself in this one, but it's not. So I sort of hope they don't drag this on multiple episodes, like this storyline. I hope it gets wrapped up in episode 11. Or do you like the storyline? Do you want it to go on for a bit longer?
No, so I'm worried about ISS Discovery. In our dimension, and what kind of havoc that could be ensuing. And then I'm also worried about like once they switch places again, is Hugh back? I'm worried about. I don't know. I need Hugh.
No. No.
He's my rock.
I'm sorry. Anything that happens on the ship happened on the ship. I'm sorry. He's
okay. And then there's another Paul. There's I'm worried. We're not quite sure if the Michael Burham in this new dimension is alive or not, because they said that they think she's dead, but there's no body. So we're not quite sure about that. And the Lorca in this dimension. So if they accidentally bump into either one of those, that could be sketchy. I'm wondering about who's organizing all this. Who's the Emperor? I have an idea, but who's the Emperor?
No, tell me. Who do you think the Emperor is?
So if it's opposites, I'm wondering if it could be Saru. Could Saru be the Emperor?
He couldn't though, because
he's not human.
Right? Yeah, he's not human.
Okay, then Captain Giorgio?
I was thinking that too. I was thinking it might be her. I was thinking because Burnham's the captain of the Shinjo. So And I don't think they said the emperor's sex. I don't think they said he or she either way. Because the emperor is a recluse. So I think it might be Giorgio. I thought for a moment it was Michael until they said that she was a captain of the Shinzo.
Right.
All right, people, tell us in the comments, who do you think the emperor is? And no spoilers. If you've already seen who it is, don't comment. This is for people who haven't seen it, because I haven't seen it. But who do you think the new emperor is going to be?
Right. Either that or Ambassador Catherine. But
what if, there's so many.
It's someone else, some other character that they're going to bring back in a different way.
Yeah, it's someone we've seen before who's, I think, dead in our universe, but alive in theirs. I'm wondering. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of this episode. Any final thoughts you would like to share with the group?
I'm eager to find out who the emperor is, because the emperor is the one that like strings all this along and orchestrates all of this. And how in the world do they get back? Because I need closure in our original dimension.
Yes. I'm like you. I'm worried about what's happened, what the ISS is doing in our dimension. So I need them to get back. I hope this episode or this storyline only lasts one more episode, because I feel like anything more that's just dragging on. Like, get the information you needed from that other USS, other USS ship, and get back. So like I said at the beginning, this episode gave me more questions than answers. So I don't really know how I feel about it. But I did enjoy watching it. So let's just wrap this storyline up. Don't be like the Mud one, where like nothing sort of happens at the end of it all. Okay, well, thank you again for listening to us, guys. We are very happy to all the listeners, all of our followers, everyone who loves us. Thank you so very much. So remember to please subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, click that red button. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, please subscribe to us there, so you'll be notified when we post any new episodes. So as always, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Monica.
And live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.